Okay, hello everyone again, and thank you for joining for our weekly Python fundamentals course. And I wanted to remind you that we have Kaggle Python course that we follow. And when you have free time, I encourage you to look through the theory and then do some coding exercises to strengthen your understanding of the topics. Then there are only like seven parts, 7 topics, and we already covered Hello Python, like quick introduction with syntax, variables, some basic data types, and then we covered functions, how to define function, what to write in the body, and then we also learned about booleans and conditional statements. And this is what we're gonna cover today about lists. We also covered loops last session, but we don't know about list comprehension. So until then, you are okay, good to finish these 3 parts, like 3 steps. And once you finish all of this, you get a certificate, which you can share on your LinkedIn, other social media, or even attach on your CV. And it will, so coding is now widely used, and it will definitely boost up your qualification, your professional skills. And today I'm going to pick one problem from each topic just to catch up or recap everything that we've covered. So the first is about variables. And the first task is to swap variables A and B so that A refers to the object previously referred to by B and vice versa. So we have A, B, and we need to swap the variables A and B so that they refer to each other's objects. So this lists. How can we do this? This task is mainly to encourage you to cover these exercises on your own to show you that you can already solve these small problems. Any ideas? Need to refresh it. Okay. Introduce new variables. Yes, Adil is right. How many variables should we introduce? 2. Okay, interesting. And how would you code yourself? What should I code to solve this problem? How would you introduce these 2 variables? List A, list B, okay. So if you add list A and list B, so this is the names of the variables, and we need to initialize them with some value or perform some mathematical operations to get the values. So what would we do with list A and list B? So actually, this first topic is about basic data types, but mainly about variables, variable initialization, creation. So it doesn't matter about the basic operators. So it doesn't matter what are the values of A and B. So it could be list, it could be a string. For example, we haven't covered list yet in details, So it could be like coding and here cooking. If you have no idea, then let me help you. So the task is to swap the A and B so that A refers to cooking, for example, and B refers to coding. So if I do A equals B, what does it mean? And also, don't be afraid to just unmute yourself and throw your ideas. You're free to talk anytime. It's not like a lecture or something. Coding.
So A will be equal to cooking?
Okay. Let's see. Let me print this. Because I changed it. Okay, let me just find new. Okay, so we have and I say A equals B. It's A, okay, A. B and then print A. So when I initialize A with B, it means that it will then go to B. So what is the value of B? It's cooking. And then it means A now equals cooking. Yeah. So this is one of the main things, the fundamental things that you need to understand in any coding language is that the assignment operation has the structure. We have variable name, then assignment operator, and then value. So when you say coding equal cooking is not correct because A is variable name. So it doesn't mean A equals like A, it's same like coding, and then equals B, it's same like cooking, okay? So when I say A equals B, it means A now refers to cooking. So I could say A is now cooking. Okay. Now, if I assign cooking to A, then what would be B equals to if I say B equal to A?
Cooking again.
Cooking again, yes, because now we changed A and it equals to cooking. And if we initialize B with A, it will be cooking. So both A and B are cooking. So you were right that we need to introduce new variable. Some of you said that we need to introduce two variables, but actually we only need to introduce one variable, one that stores either coding or cooking. For example, I could say some intermediate variable, and I will save coding, for example. Now, intermediate is equal to coding, right? Then I will swap the value of A to B. Now A is equal to cooking. And then B is equal to intermediate. Because intermediate stores the value of cooking, right? And you know, here to understand this correctly, you need to understand or have in mind that in Python, the code works from top to bottom. So when we say intermediate equals to A, then we save intermediate as coding. And then if we change A to B, it doesn't mean that this line will also be changed, right? So this still will be coding. Then we change the value of A to cooking. And then B now change to coding. So if we turn back to the initial task, then what would be the answer? How should I swap the variables A and B? Some value X is equal to A, then B is equal to A equal to B, and then B equals to X. We could check it, and there is a name, there's some, okay. So if you see this mistake or error when you do this exercise yourself, just read the instructions. It means name Q2 is not defined. Q2 here is just the method to check our results. It means something here was not initialized, and I initialized this first code, but you also need to initialize this code before tasks. Both of them, or any code before the task, should be initialized so that we can check our answers in case you encounter the same problem. Now let's print or run this again. Okay, it's correct. And I recommend you to log into this Kaggle so that you can save your progress and get the certificate. Okay, let's leave this problem. Another problem is about functions. So let me first read you the task. We have a function without body, and we need to complete this function so that it will return a number rounded to 2 decimal places. So if we have, for example, a pi, then it should return 3.14, 2 decimal places. And because we don't know much about methods now, there is a hint that Python has a built-in function round. So I will give you like a minute or so, and please share. If you don't answer right now, you can also share it immediately, or you can think about it like for a minute. And while you're thinking, I will refresh the page. So we already have a function defined in terms of def, keyword, name, parameter, but we don't have a body of the function. So what the function actually does. So our task is to complete the body. Do you have any questions about this problem? For example, if I encounter this problem for the first time and I didn't know about built-in method or function round, what should I do? I should Google what this function can do, right? And this, the second topic on Kaggle Python course, teaches us how to write functions and how to use help. We use help to learn more about some functions, about the style or parameters that we need to include. So you see, I always run this code because it helps us, allows us to check the results here. Yep. So first thing that I should do, if I don't know about the built-in function round, I should run the help round statement. So instead of round, you can write any function that you want to learn more about. So let's run it together. And we can read here. So this is the built-in function, and it takes some number, and we can specify number of digits. So it means how many digits we should have after the point, after the decimal point. So this is what you need to know. If you have no n digits parameter, or it's now none, then the value will be just the integer type. So let's return back to these. Okay. Let me check chat if you have any ideas. So this is the task. We need to return something. So immediately we understand that what we need to write is a return statement, right? So any function, if we want to receive some output, we should return something. Otherwise, everything that we calculated or done inside the function, it will just leave there. So we will return something. And what should we return? We should return a rounded number to 2 decimal places. And we know that we should use a function or built-in function round. So what should we write here?
Round.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Per number num.
Mm-hmm.
And 2.
Mm-hmm. Like this, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, let's check it. And that's correct. So we specify what number should we take, and we take the number that we receive. And then how many digits should we round to? Just 2, okay? And we can print, instead of returning, we can print this. For example, I can write num equal to 3 like this, and then use function print. Okay, let's use point. 3, 4, 6. It actually rounded us following the math rules, I think. Okay, that's awesome. Let's go to the next problem. Now we recap the variables, functions, and let's go to the booleans or the if statements. Sorry. No. Okay. So we know how to write a function. We need to write a function sign that prints or returns -1 if the number that it gets is negative, 1 if it's positive, and 0 if it's 0. So here we should use all knowledge about functions, how to write functions, and use the knowledge of booleans and conditional statements. So this all you already know, and I will give you about 2 minutes. You can try it on your own. You can log into your Kaggle profile and try yourself. And then let's share our ideas. How should we solve this problem? Or we can just discuss on the go. For example, how should I write a function?
Firstly, define.
Mm-hmm. Could you like spell how to write it?
Def.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Then sign.
Great. Then we always have brackets, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And maybe some variable inside. Then 2 dots. I forgot the name.
The column,
after
yeah.
time. Yeah.
Perfect.
Then right now we're gonna use if.
Yes.
Like if
Mhm.
A is smaller than 0,
Mhm.
return -1.
Okay.
Or can we use like print here? Or return is
So
better.
yeah, it says return.
Okay, then return. Then can we use if second time?
Again, we can use elif, yeah?
Yeah, elif. Yeah, elif A is bigger than 0, return 1.
Mhm.
Then else or elif?
Else. So
Else.
let me clarify this. So first time we use condition, so we want to evaluate something, we use if, and then if we don't have any other conditions, we use else. So this is the final step. We can sometimes use only if statement if there is no other like type or other options. For example, if the number is negative and we only expect negative numbers, for example, then we can just use if A is negative, then do something and then do anything else, right? But here we know that A might be negative, might be positive, or 0. If we want to check, for example, if A is negative, then do something. Then we evaluate again. If A is positive, then we use elif here. Then if both of these conditions are not true, then we use else. If we had another condition, we would use second elif statement here, right? Because we don't have other conditions, we just say, so if the number is not negative and not positive, obviously it's 0. That's why we use else. So here we just return 0. We might have a question, okay? Lee ask, okay, the sign, if beta, okay, equals -1. Negative. Yeah, I think the logic is similar. So let's check this solution by Dimaral first, and then I'll comment on Lee's solution as well. So this is correct. We've checked if the value is negative, so less than 0, then we should return something. There is another case that we should evaluate. If the number is positive, then return 1. And if both of these options are not true, then do something else. We return 0. And Lee uses almost the same logic. But one thing that I think you didn't consider is that the negative value can be any negative value, not only -1. So when you say if beta is, if B is -1, then we should return something. So I would suggest you to use less than 0 as in Dimaral's case. And the same goes to the beta equal to B equal to 1, and that's it, I think. And another thing that I also noticed that you don't take any value, right? Should we? So we use A in the parameter because we need to take some value to evaluate. It says here, define a function called sign, which takes a numerical argument. So this is the argument, and it's numerical because we evaluate if the integer or any other number. So here, if you leave it empty. It means there is no argument. So you won't be able to evaluate anything. So I would use bet B here. Okay. Then we also know that we should use less than 0 because it could be any value other than -1. And we should use more than 0 because it can be any other value than 1. And then we use else to print or to return 0. Another thing that I noticed is that you use return and print together. It's not, this is not correct because we can use either return or print. So we can't use it together. Let me show you the example. So you can do it like this. You return negative, you return positive, and you return 0. Okay. And then if I call this function sine b, and I'll save the answer to A, for example, and this will be, for example, 5. Okay, so code was run, but nothing, we can't see anything, right? But there is no mistake, everything is correct. Okay, then why is that? Let's print A. A is positive. So when we use return statement, we put the answer from the function to a variable, here A. We save the outcome of this function to a variable A, and then you can print A, right? When you use print statement instead of return, you don't give anything from the function. No output is like returned, like in English, returned. You only print something within the function. So if I use the same statement, A equal to sine 5, let's see, there is an error, right? No, that's not because of this. Because of the syntax error, we print like this. Yeah. Let's print here. Let's do again. Is positive. So what happened here? We have the positive here because 5 is more than 0, and if this statement is correct, then we print positive, right? Let's print A right now. None, because we didn't return anything from this function, and because we returned nothing, none, that's why the outcome of this function will be saved to A as none. Do you see the difference in print and return? So I would use here return just because the condition for this problem says we need to return something. And then one small thing is that we need to return -1, 1, and 0. Not the strings, but it's just like small detail. I see that you understand the whole logic of Booleans and conditional statements, and I think that's the main point. Other than that, I don't see any big like errors or mistakes here. Cool. Then we finished one more topic, and before we jump into lists, I would like to give you two more tasks to show you the platform where you can already now start practicing problem solving. So first is LeetCode, and let's first solve this problem. So in LeetCode, you can find problems with easy, middle, and hard hardness, like if the problem is easy to solve or middle difficulties or hard problems. And I recommend you to start with easy problems. So this is one of the easy problem. We have integer number n. So we get it in the parameter here. And we should return the difference between the product of its digits and the sum of its digits. For example, if we receive 234, if we already solved this problem, let me know. I don't remember. If not, let's continue. And the output will be 15 because we need to calculate the difference between product. So we calculate 2 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 4, and then subtract 2 plus 3 plus 4. And the result will be 15. I'll give you around 3 minutes. I think it's enough to solve this problem. After 1 minute, if you don't have any ideas in your head how we can do it, I will give you a hint, okay? If you didn't understand the conditions, the task, don't hesitate to ask. I will share this platform with you so you can, Abdullah already shared, thank you. Any ideas how can we divide the number into different digits? How can we transform 234 into 2, 3, and 4? Okay, Abdullah says map integer string n. Okay, so he uses a map method that we didn't cover. Okay, integer string n. Okay, we have split. Okay, split method, and I give you one hint that you can simply solve this problem using math operators. So I wanted to show you how using just basic knowledge that we've covered, you can already solve the easy problems only by using math operations. There might be some cooler ways to solve it, like map or split. Interesting. If you transform to string the number, how would you then operate on it? Abdullah, interesting. And split, I think split works on strings as well. I'm not sure. You want to split like strings, 2, 3, 4, and then convert to integer. That's what you want to do. Interesting. Okay, if there is no idea, I'll just write here operators that you can use to solve it like this. So these two operators, and then of course you should use multiplication and plus sign, and that's it, and minus sign. Okay, let me ask you one more question. What would be the answer of this?
Or
So this is the remainder, right? What would be the answer of this? Okay.
23.
Yeah, so this will be the integer only, right? So we're gonna have 2, 20, 23, yeah. Okay. Audio is correct. Okay. So now that you know that the answer here will be 4, then you can obtain 4. Then you need to perform the same thing to get 3 and to get 2. And also you can get numbers using this division operator. How can we perform the same operation several times? We can use either or something. If I want to print some statements several times, I would use, I can write print, but what would be the smartest way?
4 iteration.
Either 4, or there is another way. While loop. Okay, so now you know that we have these operations. We can use either for loop or while loop. Then how would you solve this problem? Okay, Kain, did I pronounce your name correctly? Okay, he says, or she says, we should use for loop. Yeah, it's one of the methods. Can be while too. So let's create variables that will store the values of product and sum. Okay. Product should be 1 because we will multiply, and sum should be 0. Okay. This name cannot be used because you can see it's of different color because it's already a key word in Python. So we should use something like sum or some result. And then what would be the result of 2 remainder 10? We can also check it easily here, I think. It's 2, yeah? Yes, it's correct. And 2 divided by 0, yeah? I think. It can, okay. Let's check it. Let's check it. Here. Okay, I'll check it. Zero, yeah? Yeah, so I think it's 0. So you have everything that you need to solve this problem. Okay, Abdullah says, okay, so I really like that Abdullah uses the NumPy library. We actually learn some libraries, Python libraries on weekly machine learning sessions. We also cover basics of machine learning. So I encourage you to join us as well. And it's really glad, I'm really glad to see he uses the knowledge. Okay. Where is it? Okay, so let's see. Okay, so one thing that I definitely notice is that you say for A in string n, okay, you convert it to string, and then okay, you convert it to integer and then find products and sum, and then okay, that's, I think it works. You Googled, okay. Anyway, let me show you so this, I think it works, but there is a simpler way how to solve it. So we have sum and we have product. Okay, and then if we use while loop, we can specify that while the n value is greater than 0, so we will go through the cycle decreasing the value of n, and then let's say x equal to n remainder 10 and y. Okay, so we use this remainder to get these digits, right? Then we find product sum. We find sum r by summation of x values, right? And then we find product by multiplication of x. And then if we don't do anything without with n, then this cycle will be infinite, right? That's why we will use integer division by 10 so that we can get rid of one of these digits, right? So then we will return we need to subtract product minus sum r. Yes, okay, let's see. I'll run code, okay. Okay, it works. Do you understand the logic here? Let's print x every time we calculate it, and let's print n every time we calculate it, n, okay. Okay, so firstly, we get 234, then we perform remainder, divide by 10, and we already know that it's 4, okay? That's why we print 4. Then we calculate sum, the product, then we perform integer division by 10, and it will get rid of one of these, so the digit, like remainder of division by 10. And then we perform the same cycle for number 23. If we perform remainder by 10, then we will get 3. Here we write print 3. Then we will perform integer division by 10. It means 23 divided by 10. What's left is 3. And we only take 20, right? 2. So we get 2. We perform remainder. We print here 2. And then 2 divided by 10, it's 0, right? Nothing. Because it's going to be 2 divided by 10 is 0.0 something. So we have only 0 in integer value, in the integer value before the decimal point. Okay. And we have only 10 minutes. So I think it's enough for this practice. And I want to cover lists, but I think we already know something about lists. So lists are ordered sequences of values, and they are countable. We can iterate over lists. So here is one example, and in our first problem, we already encountered this. So we have integer list here. It can be of any types. So we can have strings, booleans, and we can also use different types in one list. We can also create nested lists. For example, this is the list which contains 3 other lists. It's kind of like a table, a matrix, right? So if I print here hands, can I print it? Oh, no, it's cool. Okay, maybe I cannot print it here. Okay, let's create. So if I print how to run it? Okay, we have just the array of okay, it's not what I wanted. I want to show you. So we have just a matrix, like it's written like here. Yeah, we have matrix of 3 by 3. So 3 columns and 3 rows. And so as I said, it can contain a mix of different types. So here is integer, string, and also a function, yeah, help. Okay, so we know from previous sessions that in order to iterate over the list, we should count from 0. And to retrieve the item from the list, we can use the square brackets. For example, if we call the planets that are defined here and use 0 index, so it will take the first item on the list. So because we start from 0, 0, 1, 2, 3, the 0 item on the list is Mercury. So we get Mercury here. If we take first index item, it's going to be Venus here. Yeah. Now, if we don't want to iterate over a list to get the last item, we just simply use -1 and we'll get the last item on the list. If it's -2, then it's the previous to the last item on the list. So it's going to be Uranus. So here, this is the before the last item here, right? If I use -3, it's going to be Saturn. Okay. Now, if I don't want to take just one item, I want to get a part of the list, some small branch of the list, then I use a range. Instead of just one number, I will use the range. So in Excel, I think you are familiar that we write a column to I don't know, call to use just some portion of the cells in the Excel. So it's same in Python. We use 0:3. It means it will take only items from 0 to 2, right? Because we use exclusively. So it means we include 0 but exclude 3. And if we see there is only colon and number, it means from start to specified item. And same for a reverse option, we can use start to the end point. So I start from 3 and then to the end of our list here. And so here's just example, how can we print all items except the last one, because as I said, if we define the leftmost point, it's going to be exclusively. And this is just to print or just to index or take the last 3 items on the list. Then we know how to obtain some items from the list, how to get it by indexing. Now, if you want to change list, for example, we want to change instead of one of the planet name to use another, if we found a mistake, we just index an item and then initialize or write a new value to this item. So we take the third item. So let's see the original list. The third item is 0, 1, 2, 3 Mars. Instead of Mars, we want to change the name to Malacandra something. And if we print planets, we see 0, 1, 2, 3 is Malacandra instead of Mars. Yeah. Okay. So now there are some list functions that you should know. And I think we already seen this. It's len to get the length of a list. And we also can use sorted to sort the list according to alphabet or according to the value of an integer. So if we take sorted with strings, then it will print us values or items on the alphabetical order. And if we take integers, then it will print us in the order from smallest to largest. Then we can use the function sum. And I think Abdullah Googled the solution and there was some function sum. So by using this built-in function that we don't need to define, it's already inside the Python language, we can just use this statement and it will sum all the items in the list. And I think one of the good like how to say practice how to understand functions, how to understand Python programming is to try to implement a similar function yourself, like this easy function. For example, how should I write the sum function if it wasn't written in the Python language? I would iterate over a list and sum all the items in a list, right? I think it's a good opportunity for us to practice. So for example, I would write def sum, take some number, and then I should also, okay, let's define here is some result. And result will be, so we need actually to define result here. And we will sum, okay, let's take for I in range n. So we already covered, I think, this function or not. So it means we take the numbers from 0 to n exclusively, and then we sum up all i's from this number. Okay, so I think here we have list, yeah, so the topic is list. So instead of a number, we just should have in n, because n is a list. So we take in, and then we print or return res, okay? And I call this function n. Let's see. Oh, the mistake. Local variable res before assignment. Interesting. I have a mistake here. Okay. I should define res inside the function. Yeah, it's 17. So I just implemented the function that is already built. So I think it's a good problem for you to practice Python. And another built-in function is max. So it takes the maximum value on this list. So the maximum is 7, it returns 7. So I recommend you to try implement this function on your free time. And just a small hint, you will use a conditional statements to find the maximum value or the minimum value. So we have also the min function here. And then I think we have already 6. Okay, so we have a lot to cover more, like list methods. So I think it's good for us to stop here. We had a good practice for problems that we've covered for topics that we covered before. And next sessions, we will have small competition with the problems like this that we already practiced today, similar problems. And I hope to see you next time. So thank you for joining, and I see you next week at 5. If you have some questions, I'm happy to answer. Otherwise, you can just leave this session. Okay, thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.